this is Ashraf. So this is the video about the completion of this Tantillus. Well, this is the 3D printed version of the Tantillus, the same Tantillus from Batplane, which is the 2012 version. But instead of that one, I've modified several parts of the original Tantillus of the 2012 version. And I'm gonna call it Neo-Tantillus because I've modified most of the stuff and I've mixed most of the modified small parts inside there, somewhere between the 2012 up until 2017 or 2018, and some of them and most of the parts over here has been modified to cater my specification over here. So in comparison between the original printed Tantillus and this Neo-Tantillus is that you may notice that the main difference is the LCD over here, but instead what I've added is also to incorporate the GT2 belt with the pulley as well. And not to mention that this one, the cyan parts, the X and Y axis ends also have been modified. The carriage also been modified, and I think about at least 20% of the original parts has been modified for this Neo-Tantillus. So let's have a close-up shot. This is the top part of the Neo-Tantillus. As you can see, this is the axis ends for X and Y axis over there, and this one was used for mainly with the GT2 belt here, and I've modified the design because the original design has the hole for the smooth rods here. It goes through up until the end of the axis ends here, and then we have most of the Tantillus user or builder have to buy a grub screw or any other short screw and then put it inside here just to clamp the smooth rods from going back and forth or getting loose inside there. But for this one, I've closed the ends, but one of the problems with that is actually to service the whole thing, which is to take out the linear bushing or linear bearing if you have over here, if you decide to exchange them for a better one. But I doubt you will change them except for this carriage. And this carriage has been this is the original carriage from a user. I forgot the username, from Thingiverse as well. I remixed the similar version to be slightly better and easily printable, because the original version of this one is actually hard to print, and as you can see there are a lot of overhang over here, and we have to print this with support, and printing something with support is always bad, and not to mention that you will lose accuracy in terms of Z height, Z dimension over here. I also going to mention about my setup for the hot end carriage here. The original one was flip, means that it is low profile. I will call it low profile because you will have more Z axis, but the problem is that if the hot end was flip, the problem is that the fan inside there doesn't have a place to properly mount and to properly cool down the hot end here. So I decided to flip this carriage here, so that this one is the standard profile of the original Tantillus, and then with this I'm able to shift my cooling fan here. This is the two-part cooling fan. Two-part cooling fan originally from the Replicator Mini, I think. But this one is a nice one because it is compatible with the 30mm fan, which is the stock fan for any E3D chip or clone, or maybe the original E3D fan out there. And this one incorporates that the part cooling fan as well as the heatsink fan over there. During the assembly, it is hard to have this GT2 belt tighter because unlike most of the 3D printer out there, we have an adjustable belt tensioner, but this one doesn't have any belt tensioner, so it was hard, especially during the mounting, the fixing of this cable tie, so that this belt doesn't come loose anytime soon, especially during the printing moves. What else is that? I think done with the top part. Now I'm going to cover with the Z-axis gantry along with its bed. Inside there, let me move the hot end. Since I'm using the standard profile hot end, and then the hot end moves downward even more, you notice that this white part is actually the end stop trigger extender. This one is to cater with this standard profile carriage. And the original design of the Tantillus, 2012 Tantillus, is that if you notice at the back here, the screw mount are slightly wider. It is a slot type screw mount, means that you are able to move the Z-axis bracket, means that you are able to align the Z-top bracket left and right, and then that is actually a bad design because you may introduce the skew problem with the Z-axis, while at the bottom there doesn't have any slot holes, but at the top Sublime introduced the slot hole. Because why? Because Sublime model the whole Tantillus inside the blender, and blender doesn't have any alignment. Okay, in this Neo-Tantillus, I also uses the lead screw, same 8mm diameter rod, but I'm using the LM8UU linear bearing, a normal linear bearing. Why? Because linear bearing is much smoother compared to the 3D printed PLA bushing, because I got some issues with the 3D printed bushing with custom i3 fitted in, and then it was quite tight for the whole system to move. So for this one, I decided to use the linear bearing to have a smoother movement of this Z gantry over here. As you can see, the Z gantry here, the Z carriage here also modified from the original design. The original design doesn't have any of the end stop limit switch mounting, although he might included them, but I never really checked them and doesn't really suit my needs and or my taste as well. So I've remodeled the Z carriage here so that the flange nut is inside this pit here, and then the screw is from the bottom. It is flush, as you can see from the bottom over there. It is flush. You don't see the screw protruding or flange nut there. The only protruding is the wire for the limit switches and also printed parts. If this Z-axis, the bed, were to go down all the way down, the carriage will hit these 3D printed parts here. So I do not lose any of the Z height. The specification, I forgot to tell, the print volume is actually 90 by 70 by 95. Because why 70 for the y-axis is that this takes quite a bit of space. If you are using the normal blue fan duct for the heatsink, you may have about 10 millimeter extra travel, but this one I wanted to use this one for better part cooling fan for the quality. I will show you the printed quality, the printed parts or models printed from this tantillus here. What else? Any changes for the z-axis? Yes, I did some changes. If we go at the back over here, the original design is that this rear bracket is slightly longer, while the one on the frame is slightly shorter. So the problem is that the z-axis motor unable to make full use of the slot length over here. So in the Neo-Tantillus model, I've fixed that thing as well. And before moving on, this one is the Z plate, the Batplane also printed. As you can see, there are several holes inside there. So this one also included. You are able to print this thing. This one was printed with PLA. And then screw mounting over there, so that you are able to flip the bed according to your needs, and the bed is also symmetrical. So like I said, you are able to flip and it will be symmetrical no matter what. This is a 2mm thick glass with masking tape clamped with the famous bulldog clip, and a lot of prints sticks very well on this masking tape. Now, moving on to the electronic, not much. It's just the same electronic, but I'm using the RV8825. The power supply is 12 volt, 10 amps. This is, you know what, this is the Dasaki ramps. The wire goes to the LCD. I've drilled the frame here so that the wire are able to go through there to make it slightly more beautiful in terms of the assembly. And this one credits to the Prusa's LCD panel, which is quite nice, along with the slightly modified version of the mounting bracket just for this one. Aside from that, the extruder is here, Bowden extruder. This one I also modified and included with the package as well for the Neo-Tantillus. I've drilled 2 holes here just to mount this Bowden extruder, and then the wires go here. Original design of the Tantillus is that to have this extruder mounted over here, and then the spool will be mounted at the other side. Then if you notice that this hole is actually for the spool or the filament to go through there and then being pulled through the extruder that were mounted over here. But this one I'm making the changes, since that such thing is, by using the original designs extruder, I don't think I'm able to fit in the extruder inside there, as well as that I don't have the hub ball or anything else. So I have Mark 8's Extruder Gear. So I just printed this thing to mount at the back over here, and this one slightly modified as well. And credit to the original creator of this thing, Super Bernice Bowden extruder for Mark 8. And then this one also originally for the Tantillus as well, but for the acrylic version of the Tantillus, but modified for this 3D printed Tantillus. yeah, I forgot to mention that this is the 12mm spacer, and this is the gantry. You are also able to use a normal conventional acrylic mounting with screws at 4 corners, but I don't use screws at the 4 corners because we are living in 2018 and we already have mesh bed leveling, which is the manual mesh bed leveling. So I make a good use about that mesh bed leveling and point all of the probe, which is 9 point on the bed, and the mesh bed leveling are done with the LCD here. Aside from that, the original design, especially for the printed case, the printable version, I'm not sure where they put the electronics, but for me, I put all of my electronics at the bottom there, and then I use this MDF board, I think, and then drill a hole for this AC wire here to connect to the mains plug. This is also modified. Damper feet were modified just to have this for this tantillus, Neo-Tantillus. And I forgot to mention that that circle at the back there, I have on each corner, and then if I were to to access the electronic, I just rotate that thing around. That thing is the clamp. Rotate either clockwise or counterclockwise 90 degree, and then I'm able to release the board and then access the electronics inside. I'm unable to access the board via USB without ever to opening the board in the bottom there, because inside here is pretty much cramped. What else is there? Yeah, I forgot to mention that you notice that this is another fan I've mounted. This one I've modeled one. This is my design, custom design, because I don't have a place to mount any part cooling fan. So since we are going to print mainly with PLA, why not just make a mounting from the corner, shoot blowing from this side towards there. It is able to cover everything else, and then slightly tilted about 15 degrees downwards. This is 40 by 15 millimeter fan. It is quite strong. This is part cooling fan or auxiliary fan, and my setup is actually extruder fan and fan. And this, I forgot to mention that this fan for the heatsink also were controlled so that it will turn on if the hot end reach 50 degrees Celsius and above, so it will turn on, while this one will act almost just the same with any part cooling fan, which controlled by PWM from the controller board. During the building of this tantillus, I have a lot of quirks, I have a lot of issues. One of them is that in my previous video is that I have issues with screws, insufficient screws, improper screws. But I addressed that issue by going to another store. I bought a proper screw for this one. I forgot to mention also that Neo-Tantillus, the frame of Neo-Tantillus, which is the Neo frame, you guys, if you want to make the same thing as mine over here, also it has been modified. For example, the nut trap at the back there, this one is from the Sublime version, which is the nut trap is slightly larger to cater the imperial nut, while for the Neo-Tantillus has been modified to cater in the metric nut over there. And everything, every nut trap of the original Tantillus has been modified to cater in metric type of nut for the screws. And yeah, I forgot to mention about the gear here, as well as the motor mount. The motor mount, the slot for the motor mount has been fixed as well for the Neo-Tantillus. The original design, this particular design is that the slot was sized for M4 screws, while our screws for the NEMA 17 uses M3 screws. So it is slightly larger for the M3, so I have to print myself a NEMA 17 spacer so that it is not able to dig into the screw slots over there. Also, this one, the gear here wasn't modified. I'm unable to modify the gear design, especially for the nut trap here, because I don't think I'm able to, but I will try. Because the problem with that is I'm using metric nut, slightly larger. The nut trap is slightly larger, and then when I try to tighten the screw, the nut over here also spins around. So I have to wedge the sides there, one of the sides, to stop the nut from moving, and I'm able to tighten the screw inside there, and then everything else is already okay. So this is it, the Neo-Tantillus. The link for all of the file of this Neo-Tantillus will be down in the description below, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the main difference between 3 or 4 types of Tantillus. This is the original Tantillus was actually from Sublime. He created 2 types of Tantillus, which is the 3D printed version of Tantillus, and another one is acrylic version. And then somewhere in 2005 or 2016, no, 2015, not 2005, sorry. About 2015 or 2016, there were new Tantillus called tantillus-R. No, actually 2018, yes, 2018, which is tantillus-R, but that tantillus-R is the acrylic version. I don't have laser cutter to cut acrylic, and acrylic is pretty much expensive, and so I decided to go into Tantillus. And then I wanted to share the whole thing again by making the Tantillus great, since in the earlier video I always wanted to create this cute little printer here, and then I made a lot of adjustment with that digital file. So here it is, Neo-Tantillus. And another 2 version is actually the Altius, and I'm not sure about the other one, but Altius are mainly focusing, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is to focus on the XY axis gantry as well as the carriage, especially the ends, which is the cyan part. So next part is the printed qualities. So this is the cube. To print a cube, which is very simple only, because a basic shape, rectangular shape, so not much of a challenge. So I decided to print the famous 3D benchy over here. So this is the one of the earliest 3D benchy that I have. The hole are like this because I didn't print or fitted in any part cooling fan yet that time. And as you can see, it is quite stringy inside there, but the overhang is pretty much nice and the quality is nice. Why I have this line is because of the extruder motor making some rattling noise. So I tried to press the extruder lever a little bit, and this what happened. But in overall, it was nice. As you can see there, the quality of the cabin wall here, the pillar here is nice, not much over sagging there, and I'm not sure if you guys can see the ghosting, the ghost here, the ghost, and at the top slightly deformed for the chimney part there. All in all, it is nice, not bad. So after I put in the fan duct, a part cooling fan, I got this, the quality, which is nicer, much nicer compared to that one, this 3D benchy here. At the bottom, slightly rough because it is printed on top of the masking tape, painter's tape. It is quite smooth, like earlier as well. Ghosting, stringing there, not much over sagging on this part. Ghosting, as you can see, the ghosting is actually from high acceleration move, and you can see the text at the bottom. The hull is nice, stringy as expected. The chimney part, let me try to get that ghosting on the cabin there. It's hard to have a good look at the ghosting part over there. And then I tried to print a tolerance test, which is this one. This one, I don't think, for this one I forgot, did I put part cooling fan? Maybe there were no part cooling fan, but this is the perimeter's quality of the Tantillus. With this, I'm able to reach up to 0.3 millimeter quality, 0.5 or 0.4, 0.5, because I don't have any part cooling fan fitted in during that time, because I was kind of struggling to have this printer to work properly. And then I tried to print Adalinda's dragon here. This was printed with the standard profile carriage, and the height of this is 25 millimeter. But I'm not sure why on the foreleg here, left foreleg, have this kind of issue where it doesn't stick to the foreleg at the bottom there. But everything else is nice, slight sagging here, and yeah, it's nice, except at the back there, as expected, most of the printer unable to resolve the issue. Maybe part of the cooling fan, because I didn't use both cooling fan with the dual fan duct as well as the auxiliary fan. And then I printed the smartphone keychain stand, which is this one. This is the dragon type, and yeah, the quality is nice, smooth as well. Why I am able to get this kind of quality is that it is actually because of the Z-axis design. Most of the printer that has the same Z-axis design, just like this one, anything except Prusa style, which incorporates single motor or to move up and down, is that you are able to get this consistent quality, because, well, the nozzle are moving between X and Y only, while the bed is on the Z axis. So the Z axis doesn't move very much, except for the Prusa style is that the bed is on the Y axis, while the nozzle is on the X and Z axis, and that might create some micro misalignment, and then it will create some kind of like maybe some kind of extrusion issue or something else. So I think I'm going to wrap up. This is the summary of this Neo-Tantillus. I've modified everything else, most of the parts, but still retain the original dimension. And the link to create your own tantillus will be down in the description below as well, including with the auxiliary fan mounting over there. The quality is nice. What else I'm going to say? Pretty much nothing already. Yeah, I know it is a lengthy video about this printer, so I'm going to wrap things up. I had a lot of quirks, but I'm able to address that issue. And then, yeah, I'm going to do further printing tests as well. And then, please subscribe to my channel to help my channel grow as well. Like my video if you like it. Share this video if you find this Neo-Tantillus quite cute and able to produce this great quality print. As well as that if you like tantillus, please share, or you may create your own tantillus as well. So Ashraf signing out. Thank you for watching.